All right. So you see, here's the first question you ask. What is 10% of 470? And that's something easy to calculate. On a calculator, I just want you to know a couple of things. Do not ever forget. When we ask of the percentage of something, it means 20% times that thing. So 10% of whatsoever, 10% times the 470. You can do this on a calculator, or you can think about it. It would be definitely 47. It's 10% of the 470. Does that make sense?
Wait, you put percent on the calculator?
Oh, yes. So you click on shift and then open bracket. It will give you the percentage sign.
Okay.
Did it work out?
Yes.
Perfect. Easy, sir.
Yeah. So you literally just multiply them.
But the important thing is to understand why did we multiply them, because it's 10% of something, and the percentage has to be out of something, and we have to multiply it by that thing. So if I say,
what if it's not off?
It has to be out of something, the percentage. So there's if I just say 20% and that's it, out of nothing and no context, it means nothing. There's no such thing as 20%. 20% of what? So they have to be off something.
So it's always going to be like a number percent of another number.
Yes, because think of it, مثلا, give me any scenario where you've heard about a percentage, just a percentage.
Duck deals, they're 20% off half of the thing.
You see?
20% off, let's say, 3,700.
So it's out of something. And even if you go for a discount or something, or a sale in a specific shop, you'll find that it's 20%, yes. They have a 20% sale. They write it as a 20% sale, but it's out of something. It's out of the price of each product. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect, yeah. If we check number 2, this is a pure basic equation. Which equation has the same solution as the given one? What do you think?
Wait. 1 second.
Take your time.
I know I just subtract 6 from...
Okay, so 6 goes to the other side.
C.
So it would become 4x equals 20. Why didn't you just find the x and move 4 to the other side? Because all the choices already are written in the form of 4x equals something, huh?
Yes.
So it's, why would I get the x? I just need the 4x. Perfect.
Yeah, exactly.
Number 3. The total cost in dollars to rent a surfboard consists of a $25 service fee and a $10 per hour rental fee. The person rents a surfboard for 10 hours and intends to spend a maximum of $75 to rent the surfboard. Which inequality represents this situation? So what are you thinking of, Mariam?
I don't know.
صح, because we've read it all together. It doesn't make sense. You feel like there's nothing for me to do. So here's the first mistake to do in all word problems whatsoever, is to read the whole thing مرة واحدة كده. It's incorrect. It would put you in a situation where you're confused. So what would you do instead? You'd read and stop only at a full stop. And if there are information that you've passed that seems to be important, make sure you reread that sentence very well, 100 times if you want, until you understand perfectly well what does it say, and as well as organize the givens that they've told you over there into a few bullet points or something. So would you try to do that?
Yes.
Where would you stop?
First one at rental fee.
Okay, so here's the first full stop, Fallon. So it seems like there are a few important pieces of information. The total cost to rent a surfboard consists of
$25 service fee and $10 per hour rental fee.
No.
So that's $35. per hour.
Is that the case? Is that what they said? Is it $35 per hour?
No, it's $10 per hour. للمرة الواحدة they pay 25.
Perfect. So service fee is paid only once, but what's paid per hour is the $10. Perfect. Now, a very important thing to remember in all word problems, if there's something that's done per hour, it means the hour per day or per person or per whatsoever units per أي حاجة, it means that it's multiplied by that thing. Yani if I say 10 per hour, 10 has to be multiplied by the number of hours.
Yeah.
If I say $10 per day, then 10 needs to be multiplied by the number of days. So because the 25 is not per anything, the 25 is not going to be multiplied by anything, but I'll add to that 10. That 10
by T, which is time.
Which is the number of days, a number of hours, which they here used. They said that T represents the number of hours. So all in all, they said that, and that now I'll continue reading the sentence. You see, altogether, I haven't read the second sentence yet. This is all things that I've gotten out of the first sentence. Now, if a person...
Is it D?
Yes, true. But what's important, D is correct. What's important, أكتر يا مريم, is not that specific question. The important thing is the techniques that made these simple questions work, because exactly the same techniques will be applied on the harder ones if you don't forget them. يعني if you think of the harder questions as if they're just hard, they're math وخلاص أنا مش فاهمة إيه الحوار ده, it becomes so hard. But if you just keep in mind that they're exactly the same as those easy questions, and you've solved those because of specific reasons, because you organized the information, because you read it part by part, the same thing will be applied on way harder questions, and it would be easily done. Does it make sense?
Yes.
Perfect, yeah, Omar. Let's check number 4. The function g is defined by this, for which value of x is g of x equals to 25. What do you understand?
Okay, so it's saying that function g is g x equals x squared plus 9. So I think we're supposed to switch the x by 25.
Is it because x is equals to 25?
Technically, because it says which value of x is tx equal 25.
So do we know the value of x?
No, but it can be 25.
25 is not even one of the options. Even though we're asked to find the value of x, you're assuming the value of x is 25 already, which is not even one of the options.
Are we gonna like take, for example, 4 and then put it in x and then solve?
And then what? And then how would we know if we reached the correct answer?
When the answer is 25.
Yeah, that's one of the ways to do so. Is there any other way to do so?
I think it has something to do with the numbers and like gx equals x squared plus 9. Probably like a common factor or something.
Close. So what if I've said so okay, the answer for this one, خلاص, we can you learn the way how to get the answer. By trying out the choices, substituting and checking if it gets you to the 25 or not. صح?
Yeah.
That's one method. What's the other method بقى? The other method is if, for example, يا مريم, if I said that x is equals to 3, what would you do? You'll remove the x and substitute the 3, صح? Because x is equals to 3. Makes sense?
Yes.
But what if I say that the g of x is equals to 3? Where is the g of x?
So the whole equation.
This is g of x, صح? So I'll remove this, which is, or in other words, yes, it's the whole equation. It's this whole thing. So I can say that this whole thing is equals to 3, if that's what they said. But in the actual question, they said that the g of x is equals to 25, which means that the x squared plus 9 must be equals to what?
24.
And then I'll move the 9 to the other side, and then I'll have x squared equals to 16, which means that this, and then I'll move the power of 2 by square root, and the square root of 16 will become 4. So that's the x value that would get me the g of x that would make the g of x equals to 25. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So it's very important بقى يا مريم to recognize that difference. You know, there's a difference between g of x and g of 3 مثلا. So g of 3 means, this one means that the x is equals to 3. But if I say g of x is equals 3, it means that the y is equals to 3. It means that the equation entirely is equals to 3, not the x. Do you understand the difference?
Wait, can you repeat?
Of course. So imagine if we have a function called, let's say, f of x. Instead of all of those, let's say we have another function here called f of x, and f of x is equals to x plus 4. Okay. And let's say I'd like to find f of 3. What does that mean? F of 3 means that the x is now equals to 3. Because
I'm going to substitute x with
exactly. So f of 3 means the x will be 3 and then plus 4. That would get me 7. So the result of f of 3 is what?
7.
This is a point, ya Maria. A point of x with 3, 7 on the y. Those are considered x and y. ما هو ال f of x هي ال y. So if I say that the f of 3 is 7, it means that the y is 7 when x was equals to 3. Does this make sense?
Yes.
طيب. On the other hand بقى, if I say f of x is equals 3, does that mean in x with 3?
No.
It means that the whole equation اللي هي x plus 4 كلها هي اللي equals 3, which then means that the x will be equals to -1. So what's the coordinate or what's the point of this one, يا مريم? The coordinates اللي هما x و y. How do I write them?
-1 and 3.
Perfect. Yes. So the x is the -1 and the 3, which is the y, is the f of x, which is 3. Perfect. You understand it perfectly well. شطور. Number 5. Each face of a fair 14-sided die is labeled with a number from 1 through 14. Do you understand that part?
No.
No? Let's do it. أيوة I know عادي it's fine. أنا بسألك عشان تقولي لي yes or no. So let's try to what's it called? Break it down. Each face of a fair يعني عادلة يعني فاهمة؟
Yeah.
Okay. 14-sided die. يعني إيه 14-sided die؟
يعني.
So do you know the dice?
Yeah.
The die is one of them. It's the singular.
Okay.
So dice is a زهر. الزهرة is a die.
والأزهر guys.
Yes, الزهر. الزهر dies. No, الزهر dice. That's the plural. The زهر, the more than one.
Okay.
Okay, those are called dice. But if I'm just talking about one only, this is a die. The plural of it is die. A die and then some dice. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. So a 14-sided die يعني هي زهرة بس هي مش كيوب مش 6 face. هي 14-sided. يعني ايه 14-sided؟
It has 14 sides.
Okay, so what does that mean بقى؟ مش مهم. 14 faces صح؟ المهم.
But I have a guess.
Huh?
Let's say it's more than one die, so it's gonna be dices, and we know that there are 6 per die, so then we multiply.
No. It's not that we compare it to the die we know or the dice we know. The dice we know are the normal ones اللي هم 6 faces لأن هم على شكل كيوب. هو بيكلمك على شكل بس هو مش زهرة قوي. هو كأنه بيقولك على شكل مكون من 14 faces. Okay? So كل face عليه number من 1 ل 14. يعني 1 2 3 4 5 6 لحد ما يبقى هما 14 faces، وكل face عليه رقم لحد ما يكملوا على بعض 14. فاهمة؟
Yes.
Now if the die is rolled one time، يعني أنا رميتها كده و I picked randomly أو هيقف لي هيقف على face معين. So what is the probability of rolling a 2؟ إيه ال probability إن الفيس اللي هقف عليه يبقى عليه رقم 2؟
1.
يعني إيه 1؟ تقصدي إيه ب 1؟ 1 إيه؟
The probability out of 14.
Out of 14, yes. So it's one out of, so it's one case because there's only 1 2 out of 14. Perfect. So it's A, yes. Now I'd like you بقى to understand الحتة دي please، عشان دي هتفرق معانا قوي في الأسئلة الصعبة بتاعة ال probability. لما بشوف كلمة probability بكتب الرول إيه بتاع ال probability؟ wanted over total. ده الرول بتاع أي probability اللي أنا عايزه over total. فلما يقول لي what is the probability of rolling a 2، بيبقى ال wanted ان تبقى 1، هو 1 ان هي ال 2، ال wanted انه يرول 2. في كام 2 في الفيسز دي؟ 1 over التوتال اللي هو قد ايه؟ 14 faces available including الفيس اللي فيه ال wanted نفسه. Does this make sense يا مريم؟
Yes.
Perfect. And that's برضه the same method applied على harder one. 6. A printer produces posters at a constant rate of 42 posters per minute. At what rate in posters per hour does the printer produce the posters?
Multiply 42 by 60.
اشمعنى؟ فهميني.
Because it said per hour, an hour has. Okay. First of all, it does 42 per minute, which is like in 1 minute. You know, an hour has 60 minutes. So then it's 42 times 60.
How?
غلط ولا صح؟
صح بس ليه؟
مع اللهم لا حسد when I got something correct. Also, it feels like a just common sense question.
It's true يا حبيبتي, it is common sense. We just need to learn the method that would work for everything. So what happened إنه لما بشوف أي rate عامة بالمنظر اللي مكتوب ده اللي هو 42 posters per minute، أو لما ألاقي كلمة في question at what rate أو at this rate، know إنه الموضوع هيبقى فيه cross multiplication definitely. وهكتب الريت in a way يعني الحتة اللي هي فيها الريت دي اللي هي 42 posters per minute هكتبها بطريقة مترتبة شوية، إنه في posters وقصادها في minutes، وهكتب تحت البوسترز number of posters، تحت المينتس number of minutes. So that's the first thing you start with على طول. لما بشوف بس دي بطلع منها المنظر ده كله على بعض. بعد كده هو بيقول لي in posters per hour. So apparently هو عايز بدل تحت يعني هو بدل ما عايز minutes هو عايز أصلا hours، which means إن أنا الhour دي فيها كام minute؟ فيها 60 minutes. So هحط minutes تحت minutes، هعرف posters قد إيه، cross multiply. So it's 42 times 60 yes divide by 1. Now what you said makes perfect sense and I would do the same thing in a test. I'm not saying وده perfect، أنا مبسوط بيه جدا. أنا بس بقول لك دي علشان لما تيجي حاجات صعبة أوي 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 it's based على نفس الكونسبت ده. Is this okay؟
Yes.
شطورة بجد، proud. Number 7. The function f is defined by the equation كذا. What is the value of f of x when x is equals to 4?
We're just going to solve it normally, substitute x with 4.
So 7 multiplied by 4 in a bracket دايما. Whenever I substitute I put instead of the x a bracket. Huh? And that would get me 30 on a calculator right away. Easy جدا.
Yes.
A teacher is creating an assignment worth 70 points. The assignment will consist of questions worth 1 point and questions worth 3 points. Which equation represents this situation where x represents the number of 1 point questions and y represents the number of 3 point questions? What do you understand? It's a hard one.
Okay, so the whole thing is worth 70 points. Like adding 1 point, 2 points, and 3 points all together.
Yep.
He says x represents the number of 1 point, so
Perfect.
x is only 1, and y is the 3 points.
Okay. What does that mean?
Is it D?
Yep, makes perfect sense. Now, why? Why are you confused about it? We have 1 point questions and we have points that are worth 3 points. The number of 1 point questions is X, it's unknown, and the number of 3 point questions is Y, it's unknown. But if I would like to calculate the total of points, كده, I would multiply the number of the number of questions that I got 1 point فيها times the 1 point plus the number of questions that I got 3 points times 3 because every one of them is valued for 3 points. That would calculate the total of 7. Does this make sense?
Yes.
That's what I would like to do, yeah. Perfect. But what if I say in this exact same question, what if I say that the number of that the test consists of 25 questions? How would you represent this in an equation?
So it's the same thing, but we just changed 20 to 70. 70 to 25.
So if I multiply the number of, if I add, the number of questions worth 1 point plus 3 times the number of questions worth y points, 3 points, that would not give me the total points. Instead, it would give me the number of questions, the total number of questions. Does that make sense to you?
Wait, can you repeat?
Again, what you said here, x plus 3y equals 70, what we did is we multiplied 1 points by number, and then points by the number of questions. صح? That got me total points. صح?
Yes.
طيب. You're saying I can remove the 70 if I say that the test has a total of 25 questions and I would like to represent this in an equation. You're saying I just need to remove the 70 and substitute 25. But that would mean
No, I was asking if that's what you meant.
لا, I'm saying the same question and the same situation, and then I added another piece of information عليهم. That the test consists of 25 questions, مش points. How can I represent this with another equation? Or what here represents the number of questions?
Nothing.
What does the X represent?
A number of questions. So are we gonna, is there division for Moldova?
No. When we multiplied points by number or points by number, we got total points. But when we add the number plus the number, we'll get total number of questions. صح?
Yes.
So if the test مثلا يعني يا مريم, for example, if the test consisted of 10 3-point questions و 20 1-point questions, how can I calculate the total points اللي جبتها? 10 times
10
3
times 30 plus
10
20 times 1.
20 times 1, so that would get me 30 plus 20, يعني a total points of 50 points. That's your score, صح?
Yes.
How many questions were in this test?
30.
Which is just this plus this, without the points خالص, صح?
Yes.
Makes sense?
Yes.
So that's why we added the x plus the y without the actual points values خالص.
Okay.
Now right triangle LMN and PQR are similar, where L and M corresponds to P and Q, respectively. Angle M has a measure of 53 degrees. What is the measure of angle Q? What do you think and what would you do? Or keep in mind, يا مريم, you need to have a paper and a pen next to you and draft a few things in order to understand أكتر. فاهمة؟
Okay, one second.
دايما يا مريم وانت بتحلي اعملي كده دايما.
المشكلة أنا this is geometry وأنا I forgot it.
doesn't matter. We're going to think. خلي بالك ان دول مش بس geometry او كذا tests او they're not math tests بس يا مريم، they're IQ tests. which means انه questions كتير قوي منهم could work out بس if you're smart enough to think about them عادي. With the sum of the information of math in mind خلاص you'll be able to do the whole thing. فاهمة؟
Yes.
So let's try. What would you do؟ يعني بصي يا مريم، انا كل حاجه بوريها لك او انا لما بكتب او اي حاجه كاتبها وانت شفتيني عملتها بالقلم is not for you to understand. It's not me explaining to you. It's how I solve. It's the way you should solve. It's when I highlight something, this is what you should be doing when you're reading. اللي هو غصب عنك the 25 you'll highlight تحتها شوية. when you see a number you'll مش عارف do فيها كذا. when I see the word كذا بكتب تحتها. when I see a rate برتبه into two things with an arrow كده. These are the things that I do when you solve it. So I'd like you to explain شوية معايا لما أسألك هتعملي إيه دي. مش بس إنك how would you solve, how would you actually just start to think through. ممكن ما توصليش لحاجة بس برضه what would you do generally خلاص. فاهمة؟
Okay. Oh, here similar means they're the same or no?
Yep.
So it's 52.
Why?
Because if we يعني right triangle LMN and PRQ are similar. So it's most probably like that والreflection بتاع that they're completely the same. But L is similar to P, M is similar to Q, N is similar to R. So if M is 53, then also Q is 53 because they're reflecting each other.
Perfect. You see how it has nothing to do with the geometry حتى.
No, I have made me hate it.
Yeah, without the words of geometry. Think about it. If I tell you you and I are similar, that means we have exactly the same things. We like the same things. So the letters that are up here are exactly the same letters over here. These two are similar. So the L is like the P, and the M is like the Q, and the N is like the R. So if I give you and I told you M is 53, they're similar to each other. So that means the Q is 53 as well. It has absolutely nothing to do with geometry. It's common sense. فاهمة؟
Yeah.
يعني you could do this in a game. اللي هو مثلا if I tell you again مثلا 11A or class 11A is similar to 10A, and then I tell you 11A is the honors class in our school, then that means 10A is what? The honors class as well. فاهمة؟
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Let's try this. Y is equals to negative 3x and 4x plus y is equals to 15. What is the value of x? What would you think? Oh.
We replace y with negative 3x and then
الله والله ايه الجمال ده. ماشي. So that's
we
negative
solve
3x and then equals to 15, and then we 4x minus 3x, that's x equals to 15. So what's the value of x? Ooh. That's a very hard question صح؟
Yeah.
No طبعا. هنسيبه ده في الامتحان. 11. Which of the following equations is the most appropriate linear model for the data shown? Scatter plot. So عندي line مرسوم هنا وهو بيقول لي which of the following equations دول is the correct equation for this line. The first thing we do in any line linear equation is look at the
Start and end.
slope and y-intercept. Don't you remember the two most important things in any lines in xy axis is slope and?
No, because this like a very, very similar question came in math, and I was just like I did anything.
It doesn't have to do with the shape of a graph وخلاص. مش عشان في الشكل ده it means that they've asked you about the same thing. فاهمة؟
Yeah.
Anyway, so whenever we see a line in the SAT, the word linear, we think of in the slope and the y-intercept. These are the two most important things in any linear thing. So what is the slope? We don't need to calculate the slope precisely, but we need to know first whether it's positive or negative. That would eliminate other choices. So is this line positive or a negative slope? I'm sorry, what did you say? Why?
Because if it's from left, it's going down from left.
Yes. Going down from left to right. صح, that's negative.
Yeah.
And the Nike sign. If we do this Nike sign and it crosses with the line, that's a negative. Yep. Okay. So what direct? So we know that it's negative slope. And then what about the y-intercept? What's the value of the y-intercept? Probably it's around 10 or very close to 10. صح?
Yes.
Okay, let's check the choices. We need a choice that has a negative slope and something that has a positive y-intercept. Which one of those is that? Oh, it's only B. That was the only one that has a negative slope and a positive y-intercept, while this one has a negative slope, negative y-intercept. This one has a positive slope, positive slope. You see how this works?
Yes.
We didn't even need to calculate the slope, actually. If we're stuck at any point, how can we calculate the slope, though?
Rise over run.
Which is? Which are?
Or x2 minus x1.
Think about it. The rise means it's up and down, so that's y. Over the run, that's left and right. So that's the x. So y goes first over the x's, not the x's and then the y's. Okay?
Are you sure?
Yep, rise over run. So rise goes for up and down, and then over the run, which is right and left. So how do I get the distance up and down? By subtracting the y's. So how would I get the distance right and left? By subtracting the x's. So it's the change in y over the change in x.
Or either way, in like this question, it won't be as accurate.
Exactly. بس يعني we know لا بس you'll get something very close. يعني you'll pick 2 points that are clear. عامة أي 2 points أنت شايفاهم clear بالنسبة لك، يعني شايفة فين الإكس والواي بتوعهم and use them. فاهمة؟ يعني you can get مثلا pick 4 and 3. Pick which is this point مثلا. Pick another point on the line, so I would say 2 and 7. So if you do rise, 7 minus 3, that's 4. Over run, that's 2. 4 over 2 is 2. So that's 1.9, yeah. فاهمة?
Yes.
Here's the graph. Here is the equation. They're asking for how many values of x does f of x equals to 0. What do you understand?
Am I supposed to be familiar with this?
Yeah. Actually, even if you're not, again, that's what we're learning, ya Mariam, is to think through the things that we haven't seen before. And we've learned some strategies for that. So let's try out. What did you understand, Muhammad?
Okay, it says the equation is y equal fx, and then the function f is defined as
This. And then for how many values of x does what?
This doesn't make sense at all.
There is something that you know. One thing that you know out of this whole thing. What is it? You've seen before this thing. You know what does it mean, that thing? What is it?
I know fx.
Yeah, that's what you know. So what does that part mean? We start with what we know. What does this mean?
Y.
Y equals 0, is that what it means? صح?
Yeah.
Where's y equals 0? Where's that over there in the graph? Where's y equals 0?
It doesn't happen.
How?
Oh, it does. In -1.
No, it's right here. That's the y equals 0.
Oh, you don't mean about the slope. Okay.
No. I'm talking y equals 0. Y equals 0 is everything on this line. Everything on this line has a y that's equals to what?
0.
Why? Because this point here on the y, this point is 0 on the y, صح?
Yes.
طب what are they asking me? For how many values of x does f of x equals to 0? What do you think they mean? For how many values of x?
Like how many of like
How many x
I think
values?
I know, but
Yeah.
I don't know how
What?
to explain.
So yeah, what do you think the answer is?
Wait, scroll down.
It's 1, 2, 3, and 4.
So how it wants like how many x's happen when y is 0?
Yep. So how many? How can
Is
you
it
tell?
3?
Yes, why?
Because the slope intersects and the x-axis 3 times.
No, the weight slope only
And
applies
it's
on.
at
Just
0.
listen to this. The weight slope only applies to lines. Whenever it's not a line, it's a curve. The weight slope is never mentioned. Slope is the meaning of slope is a constant rate of change. So it has to be a straight line. Other than that, it's not slope. But what you mean is very close. You used a very correct term. Or it's the places where the graph intersects the line y equals 0. Is that صح ولا مش قوي؟
Yes.
It's the أو these are mainly the x intercepts اللي هما ال x أو ال points where the graph intersects the x axis. Those are called x intercepts. صح؟
Yes.
So the answer is 3. Yes. Does it need or does it require you to know things about the x power 3 equation and so on?
No one جايبينها ليه if it's not
By the way, it does. But I've taught you things to think through. It does. You should know these things to get it طبعا. فاهمة?
Yeah.
So that's what we do. You don't need to look at math يا مريم as if it's hard things that we need to learn. No, they're things that you understand, the reasonable things, the ways of thinking. فاهمة?
Yes.
Let's try. Vivian bought party hats and cupcakes for $71. Each package of party hats costs $3, while each cupcake costs $1. Vivian bought 10 packages of party hats. How many cupcakes did she buy?
Okay, let's break it down.
Perfect.
So together, party hats and cupcakes are 71. So then whatever the equation is, it's gonna equal 71.
Perfect.
So then it says each package of party hats is $3. So the one party hat is $3,
Okay.
and then each cupcake is $1. So then Vivian she buys 10 packages of party hats. So that's 10 times 3, which is 30. So then we subtract 71 from 30.
Perfect.
صح؟
صح. That's 41.
Yes.
So x is equals to 41 because 1 times x is just x. So 41 is now the equation. Now x here represents the number of cupcakes she bought. صح?
Yes.
And this is perfect, يا مريم. You did amazingly, really well.
Alhamdulillah.
MashaAllah. Number 14. What is one of the solutions to the given equation? So that's a quadratic equation. There are two methods to do this. There are three. If we have a calculator, we can use mode 5-3 and it would get us the solutions, or we also call them zeros, we call them roots, we call them x values, and we call them x intercepts. All are the same thing, and they're all could be found using the calculator mode 5-3. The second method is by what we call factorization, and by factorization يعني it's kind of mental شوية. And the third method is what we call the quadratic formula. So when it comes to factorization, we think of two numbers that would get me this product. So that's what we call the product of the solutions. And on the other hand, this number here is what we call the sum of the solution. So we're looking for two numbers that will give me a product of 24, and added or subtracted would be 10. What would those two numbers be? times بعض ب 24 وبلس أو minus ب 10.
I thought both numbers had to be the same.
No, not at all. So we would do that mentally, and we write the two numbers over here, and we put the letter repeated, one here and one there. Now, when it comes to the signs, and listen to this one carefully, the bigger number out of these two gets the first sign here. So because this is positive, this went for the bigger number here, positive. But because this one is negative, it means that these two signs are different than each other. So it means that the other bracket must have a sign that is what?
Greater.
They're different than each other. The signs must be different than each other. So we first decided that the bigger number, اللي هو 12, will take this middle sign, which is positive. And then when we go to the other sign, this sign decides whether these two brackets will have the same middle sign or different in signs. Because it's negative, we know that they have to be different in signs, which then gives me the indication that the second bracket would have a sign that's what? Positive or negative?
Negative.
Okay, perfect. And these are still equals to 0. Next step, you would take z plus 12 and make it equals to 0, and then z minus 2 and make it equals to 0. Move 12 to the other side, and that would get you z equals negative 12, and move 2 to the other side, and that would get you z equals 2. So there are two solutions. These are the two solutions. These are the roots. These are the x values, the x-intercepts, the zeros, and so on. These are the same values that the mode 5.3 would get me on a calculator. Is that okay?
Can I just use the calculator?
Of course, أنا بقول if in case you're not allowed a calculator for some reason, that's what you do. طيب.
We are the same.
Yes, but some questions would pop up ساعات without calculator.
Wait, we're not allowed to have our own physical calculator?
I think you will be allowed. انتوا عندكم الدنيا أسهل. You will be allowed.
Okay.
The quadratic formula is the third thing, and it's important to know that this rule generally اللي هو negative b plus or minus square root b to the power of 2 minus 4ac, and all of this is divided by 2a. This is a very big rule, and we one time add it and another time subtract it in order to get 2x values. A, B, and C, and so on are these. This is the A, this is the B, and this is the C, اللي هما coefficients. We'll discuss this أكتر in details قصة الكوادراتيك، وهنعمل لها حصص لوحدها لأنها كبيرة شوية ومهمة. Okay? بس this is a very easy
I
question.
did this quadratic like
في المدرسة.
did it.
ما إحنا مع بعض؟
Not in school.
I think طبعا بس algebra 2 you have to. طيب يلا let's go next. Bacteria are growing in a liquid growth medium. There were 300,000 cells per milliliter during an initial observation. The number of cells per milliliter doubles every 3 hours. How many cells per milliliter will be there 15 hours after the initial observation? Ooh.
Okay, we first draw a graph. No, not a graph, a table.
Okay.
So, and one, and then 300,000 cells. And then since it says that it doubles every 3 hours, so then we're like in the hour column, we're gonna do 3, and then 6, and then 9, and then 12, and then 15. And then we keep multiplying the number, like the 3,000, the 300,000.
Okay. Times 2?
Yes.
Okay.
صح ولا لا؟
لا صح طبعا. It just takes time شوية صح؟
No.
ولا لأ؟ Okay.
Yeah.
So that would be the answer. So what's happening here is what we call an exponential function, not linear. This ولا quadratic. It's exponential. The exponential has a form. It's a times b to the power of x. A represents the initial value اللي هو الامount اللي بنبتدي بيه في الأول خالص. While b بقى is representing the rate of growth. X represents the time. So because we've started with 300,000, I'll put instead of the A 300,000. And because it's doubling it's doubling عامة, that's the rate. That means in the B is equals 2 because I'm multiplying by 2. The trick here is in the power. Because it's doing this every 3 hours, then I can't put the power as 15. It has to be, the 15 has to be divided by 3 because it's happening every 3 hours. So we divide the power by the 3. You put this on a calculator as it is, and it would get you the answer as the 9,600,000. Does it make sense? Which expression is equivalent to this? What do you think?
Okay, so first one, it can be as 6 and then brackets x to the power of 8 and y to the power of 2. Since like 6 is being multiplied by x and y.
No, there are no distribution here because there's nothing added or subtracted. So it's all multiplied by each other. So the 6 will be multiplied by the 2, which is 12, and then the x power 2 by x power 6, which is x power 8, as you said, and then y power 2 is right next to them. وخلاص. So this is not the same as this. Because here we can't add or subtract. They're different powers, therefore they're different terms, therefore we can't add them or subtract them. This is their simplest. But if you check مثلا on the other hand C, 6 times ده هتبقى هنا 6x x power 2 times x power 6 تبقى x power 8 والy power 2 جنبهم عادي plus 6 times 2 will become 12 والx power 2 جنبهم عادي والy power 2 جنبهم عادي. ده طلع ده هو ده بالظبط. فاهمة؟
So I'm gonna like multiply each choice by itself and then until like I get the answer.
Exactly. ما هي خلاص أول واحدة صح أكيد أنا بس بوريها لك. فاهمة؟ هنا هتطلع الإكس دي غلط بباور 6 so this is one is incorrect. هي دي.
Okay.
Sure.
Yes.
Perfect. A neighborhood consists of a 2-hectare park and a 35-hectare residential area. The total number of trees in the neighborhood is this. The equation كذا represents this situation. Which of the following is the best interpretation of X in the context? What do you think the X means? Keeping in mind the information اللي فوق. Read it كده and I think you can get it. باللي احنا عملناهم دول اللي فاتوا I think you can understand.
Well, I know it's not the residential area, so B and D are incorrect. It's not average. Is it the total number of trees?
Perfect.
4?
Perfect. Because they said here the 2-hectare goes for the park and the 35-hectare goes for the residential area. when they said, or when they talked about this, they said that this is the total number of trees. So therefore, the X has to be the total of the park, and the Y has to be the total of the residential area. صح. Perfect. I'm very happy. شطورة قوي.
Thank
What do you think this one? How do we solve this one? Get the equation. They need the equation. Linear equation. زي اللي عملناها قبل كده. بصي. Equation.
So I get the equation first.
How? What do I need in the equation of the line?
Okay, I know. Write y equal
أيوة
mx
كده.
plus b.
So we're thinking of slope and intercept. What's the m?
Wait, b first is the
Okay.
point where the
Which
slope
is how much?
intersects the y-axis, which is 40.
Where the line intersects the y-axis. Yes. And where's the slope?
Then we take any 2 points.
Yes, but
then just
it's easy to figure out these. ما هو ده is the rise وده is the run. So it's 40 to 60.
over 60. Okay.
Which is 2 over 3 على فكرة. Simplified, yeah. Okay?
Okay.
Now, so you know that the slope is 2 over 3 and the y-intercept is 40. Look at the choices. Which one has a y-intercept of 40? أول واحدة y-intercept بتاعتها بكام؟
12.
Incorrect خلاص. تاني واحدة y-intercept بتاعتها بكام؟
8.
غلط.
12.
غلط.
No, it's 480.
لا غلط. Because this is a form where x and y are written next to each other. This is the standard form. Here the slope is negative a over
so
b.
B and D are incorrect.
And c over b is the y-intercept. So this is what we call the y-intercept. And this is what we call the slope. No, they don't have to be. What's the value of b? What's the slope of b? It's linear, but it's just that the slope and the y-intercept are figured out or are calculated differently. They're not the numbers alone or the y-intercept. This is how I get the slope, and this is how I get the y-intercept. The number next to the x with the opposite sign over the number next to the y. For example, if I have 2x minus 3y equals 9, the slope would be negative 2 over the number next to the y as it is. So it would become positive 2 over 3. That's the slope. While the y-intercept is 9 over negative 3 without changing any signs. That's the y-intercept. Does that make sense?
No.
But when the equation is written and y is not alone equals to everything else, how do I get the slope? Using these formulas. مش انتي عارفة الإيكويشن اللي هي y في ناحية لوحدها equals mx plus b. This is the slope and this is the intercept. طب what if x and y are not written أو y مش equals كل حاجة؟ لو الx والy مكتوبين جنب بعض، إزاي أنا أجيب السلوب؟ بالرولز اللي أنا لسه كاتبها على اليمين دول. باخد الرقم اللي جنب الx بعكس الساين over الرقم اللي جنب الواي. ده السلوب. while الواي intercept الرقم اللي بره over الرقم اللي جنب الواي. We did this على فكرة more than once. المليون.
So I take the C over the B, صح?
That's to get what?
The Y intercept. Okay.
So what's the y intercept in B?
It's 480 over 12.
Which is 40. So this could be the one. Now we need to figure out if the slope is correct. So what's the slope?
Is it gonna be 480 over 8?
What's the slope? How do we get the slope? Negative a over b. Negative the number next to the x over the number next to the y.
Negative 8 over 12.
Perfect, which on a calculator would become negative 2 over 3. So is the slope negative 2 over 3?
Yes. No.
Actually, yes, because when we calculated...
It's going downwards.
Exactly. When we calculated, we didn't consider that this is negative 40. So if we're going to calculate كده ونعد وخلاص rise ورun, sorry يا حبيبي. So we're saying if we're going to calculate إحنا أو نعد أقصد rise over run كده بالمنظر لازم نconsider في الآخر is it positive or negative slope عشان نحط الساين. So it is فعلا negative 2/3 the slope and the y-intercept is 40. So هي فعلا B is the correct one. فاهمة؟
Yes.
Okay. 19. Circle A has a radius of 3n and circle B has a radius of كذا where n is كذا. The area of circle B is how many times the area of circle A? Let me best first remind you of the area of a circle. The area of a circle is pi r اللي هو radius to the power of 2 while the circumference of the circle is 2 times pi times r. Do you understand these two?
Yes.
Are you sure?
I am.
Let's try this. What do you think we should do?
Okay, so the radius is 3. So then it's gonna be.
It's not 3, it's 3n.
Huh?
It's not 3, it's 3n.
3n. So then it's gonna be pi times 3n.
To the power of 2.
Yes.
Which is
And
what?
then the. One second. Pi is 3.14 صح؟
لا never see, leave it with pi as it is. Calculate the rest بس. We never calculate pi in the SAT. We leave it كده كأنها x.
3 pi and pi.
لا 3 power 2. ال 3 كمان باور 2. الراديوس اللي هو ال 3n اتعمل باور 2. So ال 3 باور 2 تبقى 9 times pi times n باور 2 برضو. So الباور 2 على ال 3 وعلى ال n فتبقى كده. فاهمة؟
Yes.
Sure؟
Yes.
طب while circle B بقى هتبقى ايه؟
1 to 9 pi and then 9 pi n squared.
ممكن نحسب دي بقى على الكالكوليتر 129 باور 2.
Yes. Pi.
طبعا
It's
170.
gonna be 1 to 9 and pi.
Again, what is it?
It's literally the same 1 to 9.
No. Mayumi, you forgot about the power of 2.
I forgot the power. It's gonna be 16641 pi. But then we add the n.
To the power of 2, don't forget, okay?
Yes.
Right, then what? Now we got the area of this and the area of that. What do they want?
Are we supposed to divide 16641 by
Yes,
9?
because we want to know how this is how many times that. So 16641 divided by 9. بس لأنه كده this will cross out this. فاهمة؟
Yes, it's 1849.
So remember إنه هو كده أهو D will cross D anyway. So that's why it's 1849. Easy صح؟ Well done أوي يا مريم.
Thank you.
20 and we'll stop here ما تقلقيش مش عارف نكتب. Data value these and these are the frequencies. يعني إيه frequency يا مريم؟
Repeatedly like.
Perfect. So what does that mean? 6, data value 6, frequency 3.
So the value 6 is repeated 3 times.
Exactly. And the 7, 3 times.
3 times.
And
then
then
8 times.
and so on. Right. The frequency table summarizes 57 data values in a data set. What is the maximum data value in the data set? إيه أكبر maximum data value?
I think we just multiply data value by its frequency and then
No,
the highest is
it's way simpler. The maximum data value. How many data sets are
we take the highest data value.
What is it?
14.
That's it. You see how easy it is? So they're just confusing you with the frequency, as they want to know the maximum data value. The biggest is the 14.
Yes.
صح? Because these are the data values. But if they're asking me the mode of the data set, يعني ايه mode? Mode يعني most repeated number. So what is the mode?
Most repeated number.
Which one of those is the mode? What's the mode of this data set? I'm asking you.
14.
No, not the 14. What's the mode? I'm asking you. I'm just highlighting. What is the mode? What is the most repeated number in this data value in this table?
8.
No. What is the most repeated number? No. What is the most repeated number? What does the frequency mean?
How often?
Good. يعني how many times it's repeated?
Yes.
So how many?
11.
Exactly. Makes sense? عشان 11 is the biggest number, it's the biggest number in the frequencies. So it means the data value 11 is repeated the most number of times. So the mode is 11. Makes sense?
Yes.
Perfect يا عمر. شطورة قوي. بجد I'm happy قوي والله. You did perfect يعني المرة دي.